There we are.
We are live.
I'm gonna get us posted real quick, fast.
Yep.
Once I can find the 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 cop. Oh, there it is. The older I get, the more I feel like my parents.
Oh no.
Just like, where's the God blessed button? Content of this meeting is being sent to YouTube.
Righty.
All right. Are you ready?
Aye aye, Captain.
All right, man, when you hit record, we're good to go. Do I sound all right, first of all?
Yes, sir.
All right, plenty loud.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool.
You're rocking it.
Love it. Hello and welcome to the Warrior House podcast, where Warrior Pride lives. I'm your host, Ryan Reingart, joined by my co-host, Mike Sangster. Thank you for joining us on episode 83 of the Warrior House podcast. Sangster, go.
It's just what the episode title is. It is so cold in the D right now. Not only is it a lovely 10 degrees outside, we've had to deal with we are all in our feelings after last Saturday.
That's true. That's true. It's not going to get much better either. We get to watch other teams play football, and we get to deal with more cold weather, and it's January. So these are what we call the long days of winter, but there's a lot of good things going on right now. We just got to find the good things, focus on the good things, and have fun with it and make the best of what we can. So, with that, Sangster, we had some good stuff actually over the last week. Started out on a pretty high note back on Thursday.
Yes.
So back on Thursday, well, we want to talk about cold weather. Our basketball teams were up in the Upper Peninsula, up by the Keweenaw Peninsula to be exact. On Thursday, our women's basketball team was up in Northern Michigan in Marquette, and our team won that one 61 to 60. And that we knew that was going to be a tough game up there, a really tough opponent. Their crowd shows up. The crowd for both of those schools, I feel like they show up quite a bit. Funny enough, I was actually looking at the attendance earlier today. I didn't think to look at what the attendance for Northern Michigan and Michigan Tech basketball games are, but nonetheless, those are two schools that take their sports pretty seriously. And so to be able to get a win to start out the away weekend is pretty good. So again, that's a 61 to 60 win for Wayne State. And honestly, it was a pretty rough shooting day. It was not we did not win because we shot the ball exceptionally well. We won because we scored more points at the end of the day, but 38% from the field, which is not a really bad percentage. It's just not great. To me, that's like average, maybe a little bit below average, what you're hoping for. 24% from the 3-point line. That's a little bit rough. And from the free throw line, we did what we needed to do. So, really, in this one, Sangster, the one thing that really stood out to me, guess what? It's turnovers. 10 turnovers for Wayne State. That's a great number compared to 18 turnovers for Northern Michigan, which is a little bit above average for them. So, I mean, a difference of 8 turnovers and the final score was separated by 1 point. Yeah, I think that made a pretty big difference in this one.
Yeah, another big thing that happened in this game was that Wayne State was able to keep Northern from scoring normal basketball points for the last 3 minutes and 30 seconds of the game. Uh, and to finish it all off, hero of the game, JC Tubergen, she had 3 points on the day. Guess when she scored those 3 points?
Right at the end.
Right at the end, 30 seconds left to go in the game. So you'll take them where you can get them. Other players that had good days, McKenna Ferguson led the Warriors, 17 points, 9 rebounds. Another great game from Taylor Thompson, 12 points, 5 rebounds. Shea Tripp, 9.7 rebounds. So again, tough shooting day, uh, but they were able to find that one shot when it mattered.
Yeah, they really did. And I was actually I was streaming this game at the very end. I think you and I were chatting about it. I had this game pulled up on Flow just as maybe the Michigan game was getting underway, or maybe the Red Wings or Pistons. I think they were all playing that day. And I had this one pulled up at about the last 4 minutes, and I saw JC's shot go in, and I'm like, that may have just did it for them. And of course it did. So, I mean, huge shot there. Like you said, thanks for like, what a great time to make one of the very few 3-pointers that they made in this game, really when it mattered. And that, like, what impresses me the most about that is like, you're not playing for overtime there. Like you're saying, do we think that this is our best shot to win this game is right here, right now? Put the shot up if it's there. If it's not there, then yeah, go in for the two, go do whatever, find somebody else. But it was there. She took it, she nailed it. And let's not forget, this is a player like JC is not getting a ton of minutes. I think she's been getting a little bit more recently, but by and large, she's not a starter, and she's really not even like the sixth player off the bench. She's getting probably, if I had to guess, on average 5, 6 minutes a game, not much more than that. So big moment for her. And that says something that like if you can come in and like be able to do something like that, at least give the ball, give a good shot off, then that's pretty good.
Yeah, a couple other interesting things I noted in this game. It looks like Annabelle Aralt got the start. She ended up playing 11 minutes, but then Gabby Luchka comes off the bench playing 35. So looks like they might have been trying to change something up there. Not sure if we're going to see that again. Another interesting stat I found is that whether it was team defense from Wayne State or just a bizarre choice in the fourth quarter, Northern Michigan did not attempt a 3-pointer at all in
Hmm.
that fourth quarter in the last 10 minutes of the game.
Interesting.
So crazy stuff happening there. Also, last crazy thing, Northern Michigan made all of their free throws, so they certainly didn't help out the Warriors. Wayne State was able to get to the line a lot more, though. Northern Michigan was 8 for 8. Wayne State 16 for 20. They definitely then they made their best opportunity from what they had. Sure, we would like to make some more, make this game a little bit closer there, but Wayne State playing disciplined, not fouling and getting to the line at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, this one, we talked about it last week, and we'll talk about the men's basketball team here in just a couple of minutes. But this game felt winnable for both teams, and especially for the Wayne State women's basketball team. And if you're able to get this win, as I said on X, after this game, that makes the Saturday game much more of a this is a big opportunity for them rather than you have to go and win this one to split the weekend. So what ends up happening on Saturday, Michigan Tech was able to beat Wayne State in this one. And while that is a bummer, and we'll talk about the game here in just a second, that still is a 1-1 away weekend against two very good teams in the GLIAC. And by the way, you were playing on their court. So I'm not upset at all about any of that, but I love that Thursday is where we got the win. We could go out Saturday and really give ourselves, just go out there, play loose, play fun, and just try to get a sweep. And if it doesn't happen, of course, the team isn't thinking this. Sangster and I are thinking this. Then whatever, it's a 1-1 away weekend. So again, Michigan Tech was able to win on Saturday. Pretty straightforward analysis here, Sangsters. Michigan Tech just shot a little better than us. A little bit of higher percentage from the field, I believe, a little higher percentage from the 3-point line. I didn't look too much into the free throw line, but all of that, I mean, it ends up being a 9-point win for Michigan Tech. That comes down a lot to the shooting percentages. One thing I want to throw out, though, is of course, once again, I'm going to talk about turnovers here. There must be some sort of emphasis from Carrie Lord and the coaching staff to stop turning the ball over so much, or just to be a little bit more mindful of your passing lanes, of your who's open, how are you getting it to them when you're bringing the ball up the court. Make sure you're kind of keeping it to where, the other defender cannot get in and, get a hand in, knock the ball loose or whatever. Because in this game, we turned the ball over, I don't know, what was it?
12.
12 times? 12
12.
times in this one, yeah. And looking at middle of the road for the D2, for all of D2, is about 17 per game. So that's pretty good. I mean, we're definitely trending on the good side of that stat. And I will say forever and ever, that is a very, very important stat because if you turn the ball over, there goes your chance at even putting up a shot. And then we don't even have to talk about free throws and field goals and 3 point. You just don't even get a shot at that. So I'm going to continue to look at that one, but it's starting to seem like that's something that this team is focusing on.
Yeah, the real killer for Wayne State in this particular game was just a really bad shooting first half. They were in total between the first and second quarters, 1 for 15.
Yeah,
Yikes!
rough one.
Not going to get it done. They and whatever Kerry said in the halftime, they turned it around in the second half, 3 for 6 and 3 for 4. So that's where Wayne State at least salvages their shooting percentage on the day. But starting a first half like this against still maybe not the best Michigan Tech team we've seen, but still a very good team in their court, you're not going to win a whole lot of games like that. And really, Michigan Tech, you can see how they shot. Most of their stuff was inside the arc, so they were just driving to the basket and they got there
Yeah, and you know, again, a bummer because I thought the team had a chance to win this one as well. Just looking at how these two teams have performed throughout the season so far, this
Yep.
felt like one that was not. But again, let's back up to Thursday and just say, regardless, if you can handle your business at home and go 50-50 away, you're going to have a good season. And, you
Right.
know, as of this weekend, they did that. We're going to talk about this upcoming weekend as well in the second half for this team. But that's really what they needed to do. And again, these are not like two bottom feeder teams they went against. So I think this is like the number three and number four, maybe the number two and number three in the GLIAC right now. Two high end teams for the conference.
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, right now you are you being Wayne State, women's basketball is tied with Michigan Tech, conference record wise. They're both 4-4. Uh, Michigan Tech right now is a little worse off in the overall ranks, but not at this point. It doesn't matter. We're just looking at conference ranks. Right now, you're tied with them
Yeah. So, you know, we're gonna get another shot at them. A little bit later in the season, they're gonna be coming down to the field house and we'll get another effort, be able to try to get a win there and split the season with them. But I'll say it, Sangster, based on your nodding, I think you'll agree that it was a good weekend away.
Yeah,
A lot of things went well. Couple things here and there, but you know, some days you shoot the ball really well. You as a Michigan State fan know this very well. Some days you don't shoot the ball so well. So and unfortunately, sometimes that's what it comes down to, and it happened in this case. So, bummer. But again, we are not going to dwell too much on the fact that we beat a really good team on their home court, and we put up a pretty decent effort on a pretty off day on someone else's home court.
for sure. Well, a team that did have a good shooting day, Wayne State men's team on Thursday against same opponent, Northern Michigan. Wayne State ends up winning this game 82-67. And there, contrary to what the score looks like, there were a couple moments in this game where it was getting close. There was a lead change. Uh, Wayne State, if I'm remembering this game right, they got out to a big lead. Uh, Northern Michigan, they came back. I think they might have actually led by 1 or 2 points. Uh, Wayne State pulls ahead going into halftime. Northern Michigan comes back to start out the second half, and then just Wayne State turns the gas back on, and they don't look back. Overall, it was an excellent day for Wayne State, shooting 60% beyond the arc, 53% overall, and 18 for 23 from free throw line. And really, Northern Michigan did a lot of the same. They did have a rough 3 point day, uh, pretty average shooting day, but Wayne State was just the better team this go around, and we'd be remiss if we did not mention Rob Lee Jr. Just putting the team on his back. 40 points, 5 rebounds, perfect from the free throw line, 10 for 10, 6 for 8 beyond the arc, 12-18 overall, played 36 minutes in this game. An outstanding performance from him.
Yeah, it was a really good one. And I saw that the Wayne State Athletics page put out a highlight for that whole game and said, if you want to see all of Rob Lee Jr.'s 40 points, here you go. And it was every single one of them. So shout out Athletics for being able to do something like that because it's a pretty special thing. And I think, Sanks, if I'm not mistaken, he's the Is that the highest individual score for a men's basketball player in Wayne State history, or was it the
No,
first one? There
that-
was something about that.
yeah. So he's the fourth highest. I put out special for him. He is the first uh Wayne State men's player to score exactly 40.
I see. Okay.
No one else has scored exactly 40, but I'll pull it up right now because this is important. Um, but yeah, he's one of four to score 40 or higher points in a game, I should say. And so the individual, you're looking all the way back. Highest is 50, scored by a guy named George Duncan back in 1960. Uh, Second is 45 by Danny Lewis in 1993. I believe that would be the year that they made the D2 Final Four, or was the year before it? I forget right now. And then right behind him, man, if he had just gotten that one more point, he'd be tied for third with Chris Krasminski in a game against Gannon in 2006, 2007. So that would be right around the time that Coach Smothers were playing. But yeah, Rob Lee is now officially number four in most points scored in a single game in Wayne State history.
And definitely the highest in our time because all of those other guys, were well, especially the dude from the 60s, a little
Yeah.
bit before our time. But yeah, 2006, about 6, 7 years before me. So really good stuff from Rob Lee Jr. And I love seeing what he's doing. He's really, when he committed to Wayne State, we saw his name. He committed at the same time as Jordy Briggs, Hutch Ward, and Rob Lee Jr. came in there. He was number 3 on my list of who I was looking at, full disclosure, and like
Yep.
seeing what he's been doing lately.
And then, well, Gliak, freshman of the year last year.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm glad we have him because he's
Yep.
doing some seriously good stuff right there. But yeah, at the end of the day, at this one, Northern Michigan did not have a bad day by any means. But when you go up against a team that's shooting these high percentages, and oh yeah, you're going up against a player that scored half of our points, 40 basically, and he was shooting the lights out. Another one of those, like it wasn't necessarily that they had a bad day, we just had that good of a day. So not going to be upset, not going to be apologetic about it whatsoever. Same story here, though, Sangster is, the men's team went up and they did what they needed to on Thursday in a game that we thought that they could go up and win. We were pretty confident they were able to do it. Saturday rolls around once again. You now have a huge opportunity to say you swept the big North Upper Peninsula schools, and at the very worst, you split against two very good teams. So, and on this one, similar story. Michigan Tech was able to win that game 74-68, and kind of similar to what happened with the women's game at Michigan Tech. It's pretty straightforward analysis. Michigan Tech just shot the ball better. A sub 30 point, I'm sorry, a sub 30% from 3 point is not going to win you a lot of games, especially when you're shooting, double digits from the three. Uh, that really doesn't put you in a great position there. So, and that's what happens in this one. Short of that, I would say, looking at all of the other stats, Wayne State did play a good game. From the field goal percentage, free throw, turnovers, of course. I think they were a little bit low on rebounds. I think Michigan Tech out rebounded us by almost 10, maybe 9, if I recall correctly. Um, but we gave ourselves plenty of opportunities. We didn't hurt ourselves in any way, at least from not what I could see. Just when it came down to it, Michigan Tech scored 6 more points than us. So it's one of those like 1 or 2 3-pointers that go down, make a big difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Michigan Tech saw something in the previous game against Northern, but Wayne State just didn't shoot a lot of 3-pointers to begin with. They were, and the ones that they didn't really make a lot of. They were
Yeah.
just 3 for 12. Uh, Free throws fine, 17 for 23 but then overall just the shooting wasn't great to begin with. 24, 55, 43%. All right, but
Yeah,
Michigan
43%.
Tech,
Like you'll win some
fine.
games with that
Yeah.
percentage.
Yeah, not being able to follow it up with the 3-point shooting, I think was just the death knell in this one. Rob Lee Jr. again had a pretty good game though, 19 points, 3 rebounds, played in 33 minutes. So not quite the 40-point performance that he had on Thursday, but definitely not a bad one either. Jordy Briggs also had 11 points. Uh, and Carlos Paul III, quiet mention, Carlos Paul III had a really nice game against Northern Michigan as well. He was coming off of the bench 7 for 10 inside. He scored 18 points against Northern Michigan. He scored 15 against Michigan Tech. So really good stuff we're seeing from him coming off the bench now.
Yeah, and one name we haven't seen in quite some time is Kareem Abarrashid. And, we're seeing Calvin Tomaclo and Carlos Paul kind of really take that five spot. We're not,
Yeah.
even Bryce Essman actually got a couple of minutes in there now that I'm looking, but we're not seeing a whole lot from Kareem. I haven't heard exactly what happened there.
I
You may
heard on
have.
I heard on the radio broadcast that I think he's dealing with some back problems right now.
Okay. So
Hoping for the
definitely not
best
like
soon,
a,
but yep.
so maybe not an end of the season thing, but then maybe just like a precautionary, let them heal up the right way because, we got some other players out there that can kind of take on some time.
Yep. And well, one player though we have seen returning now, I think Tamario Adley had some shoulder issues. Looks like he's back in the lineup now. He's playing some good minutes too.
Well, it's good to see that. But so yeah, wrapping up all the basketball, we would love to see 2-0 from both teams. Didn't quite happen, but we ended up getting a 1-1 away weekend. And for both of those teams, that are right in the middle of the conference right now, that are trying to get up to the top, you at least needed to win one of these. And they did that, and they put themselves both in an opportunity on that Saturday to get two wins. So it didn't happen, but again, I am not down bad about that because the Lions got me down bad enough. So
Mm.
I will take some wins from basketball when we can get them.
Exactly.
So we also had some track and field, Sangster.
We did. Women's indoor track and field went out to Findlay, Ohio for the Findlay Alumni Classic. They ended up finishing second out of five teams there. Uh, Big hit from this one is that Taylor Hopkins set a 1,000 meter, 1 kilometer, school record just by a little over 1 second. She ran it in, if I can find it, in 2 minutes and 58 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, pretty impressive. I mean, just
Yeah.
like, that was definitely the highlight of this one. And I put a note in the last episode as we were talking about this one. I thought this was a no team score event, and that may have been last year, but they have made it actually, reported on that this year. So being able to see some of the individual scores, tallying them up and figure out what happens there. Finley ended up getting first place in this one, but Wayne State coming in at second, a lot of good performances in there. But yeah, I mean, that was a huge one to set a school record. And that's not a name we mention a whole lot when it comes to a lot of the track and field events, but maybe that's somebody we need to keep our eye on because if she's setting school records this early in the winter spring season, what is she going to do in the coming weeks and months?
Exactly. Looking at some other podium finishes, we have uh, Anna Godowski uh, running, well, she placed third in the 600 meter. Emily Gordon placed first in the mile. And in the 60-meter hurdles, we had, of course, they don't put the Megan Zalnow, Mackenzie Wellner, and Harmer. Someone else with the last name Harmer. They don't always put the first names for every single one, which is mildly annoying. But uh, otherwise, yeah, Wayne State did have a good day. Just overall beaten by Findlay. Which, from my understanding, standing, that's kind of what Findlay makes their bread and butter on to make their athletic department work. Is that they get a bunch of really good track and field teams, and that's if you look at the overall the Directors Cup scoring. Finley's usually like a top school, and that's because they boost that with their track and field teams.
Yeah, and they definitely host quite a few events. I feel like we go
I
down
think
there
they
at
have an
least
indoor
twice
center.
a year. So, I mean, when you have full on facilities to be able to do some indoor stuff like that, yeah, that definitely makes sense there. So, good stuff from the track and field team. Congrats to Taylor Hopkins for being able to get her name up on the board to say, I set a school record for Wayne State. The last sport we got, Sing, so we got swimming and dive. So, both teams were home and we got to host Oakland all the way from Rochester, Michigan.
All the way.
St- all the way. So starting out with the men's swimming and dive team, Oakland came down and they ended up winning by a score of 130 to 106. So kind of a little bit of a close one. Looking into some of the victories here, Wayne State was able to, as individuals, were able to win 6 events. We got William DeBro with the 1650 freestyle. We got Gabriel Arias with the 200-meter individual medley. Max Wasiniak, not a new name to us, the 3-meter diving winner. Olin Charnstrom with the 100-meter backstroke. Joey Dumkowski with the 100-meter breaststroke. That is a new name. I feel like we haven't said his name before. And then last but not least, the 200-meter freestyle relay. Thomas Osorio, Leland Kuranovic, Trevor Jones, and Lorenzo Tassinari. So a couple of names we got in there, but some pretty good victories. And then flipping over really quick to the women's side, it was a little bit rougher of a showing where the Oakland University women come down and win 152 to 86. Those numbers would tell you we had fewer victories on that side. Barbara Munoz with the 1650 freestyle win, Delaney Parker with the 100-meter breaststroke, and then the 200-meter free relay, we got Barbara Munoz, Sabine Bradford, Ali Vasilakos, and Julia Katalski. So a couple of good efforts in there. I actually really have not really looked at how Oakland is doing this season. I know the Wayne State swimming and dive team is still being very competitive, putting up some good numbers against a lot of teams. There's just clearly some squads that are scoring better than they are. And we talked to Sean Peters just about a week and a half ago. We talked about Grand Valley a little bit, talked about Northern Michigan, Saginaw Valley, a couple of D2 schools that are doing pretty well against us. So definitely not a down year. I don't think I can go as far as saying that this is a down year, but there are definitely some room for improvement here as we get pretty close to GLIAC championships.
Yep, and kind of two more swim meets. They had this one against D1 Oakland. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but they've got one more coming up against not GLIAC opponents, and then they've got GLIAC championships coming right up. So kind of a bummer to see it to see him go down against Oakland, but again, Division I school. So just gotta get more pool time and get really geared up for when it matters at GLIAC championships and eventually NCAAs.
Exactly. We'll be talking about the swimming and dive here in the second half as they have their last regular season match coming up. So with that saying, so that's all we got for what happened over the last week. So we're going to take a quick break. And unlike the last episode, in this episode, we are actually going to talk about what we have coming up in the next week. So we will be right back. There it is. Anybody watching live gets to see us just sit here and like stare at each other till the recording stopped sound hits.
It do be like that.
It do. I keep checking in on Instagram and the YouTube, seeing if anybody's posing some questions or anything, or just general comments. Nothing so far.
Yeah, Notre Dame is stretching. It is soon time for a game.
28 minutes. I'll probably watch it. But yeah, I'm gonna be a Notre Dame fan tonight. Anybody actually listening in will hear my rant on the Toledo War and how that should have also impacted Indiana to be able to give us Notre Dame as part of Michigan.
Right.
It's like if we're gonna draw that line over to Indiana too. Don't stop. All right, what do we need for part two, Sangster? Anything? Are we good?
I think we're pretty good.
Cool.
Roosevelt's actually won some GLIAC games.
They have, even though granted, I have not looked at the conference only stats. I feel like I should have looked at that. I was only looking at their all season stats, so it's possible. I mean, seeing 3 wins for the conference compared to 5 wins overall. They may have figured some things out for conference time, so they might be a little bit better than their overall stats are showing.
Wow, and the bottom of the GLIAC men's slate is wide open.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's a bummer that Northern Michigan had to go out and win after we beat them.
Yeah, a little bit. But alrighty. Well, whenever you're ready to
Let's record.
hit that record button. And we're back. So we're going to follow a little bit of a similar, order of operations here, if you will. We're going to start out with some women's basketball, Sangster. Our team is now sitting at an overall record of 9-7 and a conference record of 4-4, handling their business, this last weekend. So they get to come back home for, we'll call it an extended weekend, starting out on Thursday, January 23rd. They're home at 5:30 p.m. against Saginaw Valley State University. Saginaw Valley is at 9-7 overall as well, and they are 3-5 in the conference. So looking into some of the stats for them, Saginaw Valley defensively is pretty on par with Wayne State when it comes to like points allowed. Offensively, Wayne State's just better. I mean, when you look at points scored, when you look at 3-point percentage, when you look at free throw percentage, Wayne State is just showing a lot more offensively. So, in this case, I'll kind of get quickly to my key of the game here, and that is like, Wayne State just needs to rebound the ball pretty well. If Saginaw Valley is not going to shoot the ball well, if it's going to be, run of the mill stats for, what they've had all season, don't give them second chance points, rebound the ball, and get some transition points. One thing of note here is seeing that Saginaw Valley does pretty well defensively. What that tells me is, when they're tough on defense, that likely means that they're able to get back, set up whatever they're for, if they're playing man defense, if they're playing zone defense, whatever it is, they're able to get back and set and play pretty good defense, which, makes it that much harder for somebody offensively to get to the rim, get a shot up, whatever. So it's possible the transition offense is going to play quite a bit into this one. So, and last but not least, I mean, turnovers. We've been talking about it. It's trending in a very good direction. At this point, over these last 2 games, we are far below average when it comes to D2, and we're even farther below average on what our team has been doing most of the season so far. So if we're able to keep that trajectory going, those 3 things, it's going to be hard to say that this is not going to come out to be a Wayne State win.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Big story here is that we get to watch this one in the suite up at the Wayne State Fieldhouse.
That's true.
And so the team that I think Wayne State should beat, especially at home, just go out there and handle business.
Yeah, completely agreed. Completely agreed. And then Monday, yeah, I said that
Saturday.
right. Monday, because we got this odd number of teams going on right now because Roosevelt joined the party, and they have weird scheduling. I mean, it seems like every team at some point is going to play a Monday game just to make the numbers work out. And here it is. So Roosevelt comes to town on Monday, January 28th, and that's a 5:30 p.m. game. We were talking during the break, so those of you watching us live on YouTube right now, or those watching back live on YouTube, heard us kind of just chatting a little bit about this. Roosevelt's at 5-8 overall, and they are 3-4 in the conference. And one of the things that we talked about, Sangster, is that my stats that I were looking at are the full season. They're not just conference stats. So when I say Roosevelt is average or below average when it comes to GLIAC in a lot of stats, especially shooting percentage, 3-point percentage, rebounding percentage, all of that, they are average or quite a bit below average when it comes to some of those other GLIAC teams. The one place where they are actually doing pretty well is offensive rebounds. So they're giving themselves second chance opportunities. It's a hard stat to find, though. I was trying to see because I know Wayne State tracks that, and I think it is tracked quite a bit. But looking at the GLIAC site for some of those stats, it doesn't show, average per game second chance points. I think that would be a sweet one to show. Like you miss a shot, fine, but do you get the comeback shot? So that is one thing it seems like Roosevelt's doing very well.
Yeah, they're just looking at, I found the conference stats. They're just behind Grand Valley when it comes to team offensive rebounds. For what it's worth, Wayne State isn't too far behind. They are fifth. Roosevelt is second right now. Uh, yeah, just looking through the stats. Wayne State pretty much dominates them in every statistical category. That being said, uh, Roosevelt women have won three GLIAC games, so they're not going to be a tough out by any means. Or only upsides that they have to come here. Uh, and right now, at least in our opinion, Wayne State is the better team. So looking for a win here again, handle business against the newcomers, and just keep rolling. Right now, looking at the standings, I know it's a little early, but it's never too early to look at standings. Right now, Wayne State is right smack dab in the middle. They're 4-4. They're tied with Michigan Tech. Uh, though I guess if we were seeing them today, they would just be right below Michigan Tech. Right now, the top of the GLIAC is kind of low. Grand Valley 7-0, Ferris 7-1, Parkside 6-2, Northern Michigan, who you got the win over 5-3. Of course, they had to go ahead and win their game on Saturday. You're chasing them right now, and then right now Wayne State 4-4, Michigan Tech 4-4, Roosevelt 3-4, and who we just mentioned, Saginaw 3-5. Two teams that, if you really want to make a name for yourself, at least separate from that bottom half of the GLIAC, you got to get these wins. And the flip side is both those teams are going to be looking to do the exact same. They're looking at Wayne State saying, "Hey, we have the opportunity to tie your amount of wins right now. We're coming after you."
Yeah, it's one of those like you got that, and it always happens. And if for some reason there's always the clear, top one, top two, top three teams, maybe, but usually the top ones, there's like the bottom team, and then there's a log jam in the middle, and we find ourselves in that quite a bit. We just, as we're talking about that right now, the one scary thing about this Roosevelt game is this is a Monday, so we're coming off a weekend. That's a complete different pace. Like we're not used to
Exactly.
playing games on Monday. That spooks me a little bit. So, but again, once you get, in my mind, you get into practice at whatever time you set up in your locker, you get warm up, you start doing all that, you probably forget that it's a Monday and you're just like, whatever, it's just another game day. So, if that happens, we get ourselves in that mindset, go play the game that we're able to play, hold Roosevelt where they've kind of been all season, where it seems like a lot of their weaknesses are. I don't have a ton of concern about this one. So, and that was the flip side is, and it's going to be the same story here on the men's basketball team in just a minute here, is as we were coming back from an away trip up to the Upper Peninsula, coming back with that 1-1 record, now we can look forward to an extended weekend. We get a number of days in between when we play Saginaw and Roosevelt. So we get to like really, really prepare for both of these teams full time for a couple of days. And we're at home. And these are two teams that we're ahead of in the standings. So if we're gonna be a real, real contender for, the top third of GLIAC, these are two games you got to win. And I think we got ourselves a good opportunity here.
Absolutely. So let's look ahead to the men's teams. They face the same opponents right now. Wayne State men's basketball is 500 all the way, 8-8 and 4-4 in the conference. So on Thursday the 23rd, they've got a 7:30 p.m. home game against Saginaw Valley, who comes in with a record of 6-10 and just 2-6 in the conference. Uh, Big thing here, Saginaw Valley is below average in just about everything, except they will steal the ball and they will block your shots. So they're going to be aggressive on defense, and they're either going to get the ball or leave a shot open for you, but they're going to be aggressive either way.
Yeah, and then that one, I was looking at, and I know you got the stats pulled up right now, Sangsters. The number of points scored that Saginaw Valley allows, I don't think it's a low number. I think they're actually kind of allowing a good number of points defensively, and I don't think they're scoring a whole lot offensively. So, and that's exactly what that is. They're really selling out on defense, and they're saying we're going to challenge your shots. We're going to try to get to your lanes. We're going to try to do all of that. It'll happen, a little bit more than average, but when it doesn't, it makes it that much easier. Now you have a defender out of the place, and I got like a little bit of a 5-on-4 situation. And I think based on what I could see from some of the numbers, that seems like that's a pretty big factor in a lot of Saginaw Valley's games.
Yeah, looking at their defense, Saginaw Valley, they're eight. Wayne State is seven, but it's about a 20-point difference between them. Wayne State has a lot in conference play. Wayne State has allowed 567 points to be scored. Saginaw Valley 586. So a little bit of a jump despite them being 7 and 8 there.
Yeah. So, we'll talk about Roosevelt here next, but one of those, it just definitely feels to me like, Thursday coming back off of this weekend, we're on our home court. We're going against a team that's struggling a little bit. Maybe they're rebuilding. I don't really know for sure. Nor do I really care. I mean, like honestly, like looking at the record, like this is a team we have to beat. Like they're
Yep.
they're the next team on the schedule. So, you know, go go play your game. Go do what's comfortable. You got a lot of players that are doing very well. Go win this one. And then
Yeah,
Monday,
player,
Sangster. Oh
well,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, player to watch on Saginaw Valley is Freddie McIntosh. I remember hearing his name a whole
Yep.
bunch. Right now, he is averaging the sixth most points scored in the entire conference. Averages about 15 points per game. He's made 25 uh, 3 pointers, 42 field goals overall. He plays a lot, played about 280 minutes. So he's the one to watch out for. But kind of your next Saginaw Valley player doesn't happen until number 15 in the entire conference. So guy to watch out for. Flip side, we'll talk about is with Roosevelt.
Yeah, so Roosevelt comes to town again on Monday, January 28th. There, that's the 7:30 game. So, if nothing else, yeah, sure. Mondays are not that fun, but guess what? We get two basketball games on a Monday. So, if you want something to do on a Monday, we all need something to do on a Monday. So don't come out of the weekend just all that, down bad. Come enjoy some basketball. But Roosevelt comes to town 5-10 overall. They got a 2-5 conference record, and we'll call it like it is. Roosevelt has not shot the ball well, and they give up the highest shooting percentage in the conference on average. They're really, I think they're experiencing that jump up to D2, especially on this men's side. I mean, they got two conference wins in there, but not really looking into what those two wins were. I'm guessing they were pretty hard fought wins. I don't think they were blowing anybody out there. So the one thing here though is they do have a pretty good turnover margin, where Wayne State does not. Wayne State. I don't think the men's team turns the ball over a ton. We just don't force a lot of turnovers. So that's one of those where like I can't be too bad when it comes to the margin there because thinking about how many points we give up, I think we do a pretty decent job on defense. But much like the Saginaw Valley, uh, was it the women's team? I think is who we were talking about. But we're not overselling our defense. We're just playing stout defense. Man defense, maybe a little bit of zone defense here. I don't think we do a whole lot of zone defense that much, but just cover your player. Don't get out of position. So, all that to be said, we're not going to force a whole lot of turnovers with that type of defense. Um, but Roosevelt, at the end of the day, they have seen a pretty good turnover margin. So if there's anything to be said, that's the one stat where they're kind of looking pretty good.
Yeah, and the other big thing for Roosevelt is uh, they have two players in the top five for scoring in the GLIAC right now. Forte Prater and Inari Thomas. Uh, Forte averages about 19 points a game. Inari averages about 17 points a game. So looking at that, I'm almost thinking that those might be their two guys, and everyone else, they might not get the ball as much as they do. So really being able to key in on those guys, let everyone else beat you if they beat you. Going to be
Right.
the keys for a Wayne State win right there.
Yep, agreed. So that's a good find there. I didn't really look too much into their individuals, but I'm sure Coach Smothers and the whole coaching staff are very well aware of that at this point. So, we'll be rooting the team on Monday, which, as I realized, thanks, we got to talk about how we're going to do Monday's recording.
Right.
Um, so yeah, best of luck. I think this is a really good opportunity for both of our basketball teams. These are two teams that you put them on neutral court, probably a little bit of a you hope you win them, but I think these are two games for both of these teams that we kind of expect to win. I do feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah, same
Um,
here. Also, shout out to the GLIAC for they've revamped their site. I've noticed since last year, and their statistics page is a lot easier to navigate. Uh, once you kind of play around with it a little bit, but it's a lot easier to navigate than before because I think you had to like click through two different standings pages just to find what like we were always looking at.
Right. Yep.
Awesome
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. So, last but yeah, well, not last but not least, we got three other sports to talk about here. First up, we got some track and field on Friday, January 24th. Grand Valley State is hosting a track and field invite, the Bill Klinger invite. And I tried to look into what the teams are that are invited out to this one. I couldn't find anything. I could find last year's event, which might give us a little bit of a hint who's there. But this could be, probably some of the usual suspects, the Grand Valley, Wayne State, maybe a Saginaw, maybe a Findlay, something like that. But my guess would be a lot of the regional teams are really close to Michigan regional teams. But really curious to see how some of these school records, see how many of those are going to continue showing up. Seeing that we've already broken one last week, do we get another opportunity this week? I mean, who's to say you can't run, second faster? You just did it recently. So I don't know. That's pretty exciting to be able to see that we're doing that so early on in the winter indoor track and field season.
Yep, I'm all on board with breaking some more records. One thing to know about Grand Valley is it's another team. They do everything well, but where they make some of their bread and butter is with their track and field teams. Uh, no different around here, so it's going to be a tough ask if Wayne State's actually going to get the win out there at Grand Valley. But at the end of the day, we're just looking for some showings and hopefully start setting times that can get us into nationals.
Completely agreed. So good luck as our team heads out there. And then we got fencing. Thanks. So we get to talk fencing.
Well, Wayne State actually gets to play Notre Dame, who is playing in a national championship right now as we speak in football. But we get to play them face them in fencing. Saturday, January 25th, they will be driving down to South Bend, Indiana, at Notre Dame for the DeCicco duels.
Yeah,
And that's what they're doing.
yeah, I know that this is a huge, this is a couple seasons in a row. I think ever since we've started doing the podcast, we've talked about this one. This is hosted by Notre Dame. Your big schools are going to be at this one. Northwestern's more than likely going to be there. Ohio State is probably going to be there. Probably like Lawrence Tech, Detroit Mercy, and some of the local ones as well. But a lot of your Midwest teams are going to be there, and a lot of those Big Ten ones are going to be there as well. So a really cool one here. I know talking to Andy Tolliners, which is hard to believe that we talked to him, I think a little over a year
I,
ago at this
yep.
point. So we're probably high time to be able to talk to him again. But I know he's excited about this one. I know he loves being able to go down there and compete with these big teams and to see what are our teams doing right now. And I think there's a couple of names we've talked about that are going international right now, like Ayad Maroof, I know is a big one. I know Mahmoud Al Sayed, I believe, is also kind of doing some pretty big things internationally. So and then on the women's side, Ludovica Mancini is still around. So I mean, there's some individuals that do some really good stuff for our teams. So you look at the team score, we might not be the top team, we might not be the top two teams, but when you look at some of these individuals, a lot of them are going to have far, far beyond just a winning record, like, well over 500 when it comes to individual bouts. So pretty exciting one and a really cool one to be able to go back and see how we performed. Definitely one like I wish Notre Dame was a smidge closer because I feel like this would be kind of a cool one to just go and sit and hang out for most of the day and watch some of these guys compete.
Yeah, it'd be cool to drive down to South Bend's. It's doable. It's a little better than Chicago, but uh, not by much.
Right.
So really, we've got one more sport to wrap up their regular season on is men's and women's swim and dive. Saturdays, January 25th, they've got a 1 o'clock home meet against Division III Calvin College or University. I always forget which it is, but last meet of the season before GLIAC championships.
Yeah, we have not put up the up on YouTube for those watching on YouTube and for those listening to the podcast up on our YouTube. We have an interview with Sean Peters. He is the head coach of both the Wayne State men's and women's swim and dive teams. We got a chance to sit down with him, so that interview is up. we definitely have to get that out to all of the fine folks so you guys can all hear that. So look forward to that one coming soon. But again, if you want to hear it before we kind of get into some of the championship season, that is on our the Warrior House YouTube page right now. But definitely a really good last regular season event against a team that we kind of go against every year, it seems like.
Yep.
So go get your last practice in, and then we're right to it. So uh,
That's
yeah,
it.
that's all we got. Just a couple of sports. It continues to feel weird because we're probably about 2 weeks away from this schedule getting
It gets
absolutely
crazy.
ridiculous.
Yep. By
So
springtime, it's going to be loaded.
yeah, once we get into tennis season, which we got tennis as well. So anybody listening, if you want to hear a tennis interview, we got a chance to sit down with the Wayne State women's the head coach of the tennis team, and that is
Yasha.
Yasha Moore. We got a chance to talk with her. Many more interviews coming up here pretty soon, though. So please, if there's anybody that you'd like us to talk to, shoot it over our way, and we will do our best to organize it, plan it if we're able to. So that's all we got, Sangster.
That is it.
So again, thank you all for joining us on episode 83 of the Warrior House Podcast.
And remember, it's always a great day to be a Wayne State Warrior.
End of the recording. Bye, YouTube people.
Bye.